Alright, so you guys obviously saw the motor and the controller and all this cool stuff. Problem is, no bike shop pretty much in Kansas can even do conversion kits for a bike. At least with what my situation is. So I might have to actually just figure this out myself and putting it on there by myself because no one can really do it. So like we're about to just do this all ourselves. And guys, if this actually works, I might just be certified bike mechanic. But literally, I'm looking at all the parts that's in that box, and then I look at the bike and I don't even know what I'm going to be doing half of the time. So I'm gonna probably start with the controller and then work my way to figuring out where all the wires are going to go. So this is going to be it's going to be a long night because I have the rest of the night off and it's currently 6:30. And honestly, if I can get this bike running tonight, I'm going to be one happy boy because getting this thing to run is going to be the greatest thing ever. But we're going to try to put the motor and the controller and everything else on this. I'm not sure if I want to swap out the brakes because I think the brakes are okay for now, but if the brakes start wearing out, I might have to swap out the brakes. I'm just going to pray that I don't have to. I'm definitely going to have to replace the throttle. As you can tell, I got rid of the handguards because I have to swap out the throttle handle. Unless I could just... No, actually, I have to swap it out because on the new throttle has a key. Yes, it has an ignition key. So you can actually turn the bike on. But I'm going to have to swap out the handle, the grip, the throttle, and a handful of stuff. Now, the one thing that I've notice about this motor is that you can actually tune it through an app, and you can adjust, all this amps and all this interesting stuff that I don't even really know about. But you can detune it, the controller, to whatever battery is connected to it. So I'm going to try to run the controller with the stock batteries. It's only going to put out whatever the battery can handle. Otherwise, we're literally just going to destroy the battery, and then I would have to force myself to get a whole new battery. This is going to be it. And worst case scenario, I don't know. This is just got to be an all in or nothing, because I just spent a lot of money for this bike so far for this past month. And guys, it would be a miracle if I got this thing running within the next few days. But here comes the journey of building this thing, and hopefully it runs by the end of this video. So here's the status I have right now. I got everything out. There's the wheel. So there's the wheel. You got the freaking dual sport tires or something like that. So the old controller used to sit right there, but since the controller is too beefy, I kind of just threw it under the frame, which is actually pretty good. I mean, look at the wire management. I kind of got it slip through right here. Everything will connect right here, and so forth. I had to take off literally everything. So I took off the battery mounts, I took off the display, I put the new display on there, and this is the new throttle with the key. And then you got the little buttons, and this is still a work in progress. I kind of cleaned up what used to be a mess here, but honestly, guys, the only thing I'm kind of concerned about trying to fit that in there, because what I've noticed is the brakes is on the same side as the motor, and there's not much room to work with. And what used to be the motor cable being on the right side where the opposite side of the brakes is, it's just all on one side, and that kind of just messes everything up. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna fit this wheel on there, but I will tell you the difference between the width is a little interesting. But we're gonna pray that we're gonna be able to get the wheel on there. I'm gonna have to figure out how to manage this cable without messing it up and having to route it into the frame. But yeah, we'll wait for another day on that. Alright, so I came to a dilemma on putting this on. Like, obviously it looks like it fits, right? Also looks weird with different tires. But so the one thing I noticed that the difference between this motor and this is the motor cable literally comes on the same side as the chain gear. As you can tell on this motor, that does not exist. The motor cable's on this side, on the same side as the brakes, and I noticed that when I put the wheel in, the brakes does not line up with the rotor because it's simply not far in enough. So what that means is I need to somehow shift this over just maybe like half an inch to where the brake pads is going to line up with the rotors. And it honestly, looking at it at the same time, the motor cable is like very like close to like being rubbed against the brake rotor, which is not a good thing because you're also bending this little area right here, which is literally the same where the same problem came in when the people before me tried to replace the motor and pinched the cable right there, literally in the same area. So I'm trying not to recreate that, but at the same time there's like no breathing room on where the wire is gonna go, and rotating this isn't really going to work because it's literally fitting in this little slot right here and it can't really go anywhere else. But I'm going to try to figure this out, but this is really difficult for me. Alright guys, so this is the current situation we're currently at. There's a couple of things that I've done to this bike, and I know this video is probably not going to be that exciting, but what's going to be exciting is when the battery finally comes in on this thing. Alright, pause. Let me just explain to you the context behind that. Alright, so I forgot to mention this, and I didn't get a clip of this explaining it, but now that I've realized while I was editing that I need to explain why I need to get a battery for this thing, and why I couldn't use the stock battery for the bike. Alright, so what I've noticed is when I connected the controller and I plugged in everything to the controller, all the stuff that I could plug in, I realized when I tried to plug in the cable from the stock battery mount that went with the stock batteries does not have a direct connection to the plug-in for the new controller. Nothing matched. So I literally cannot use the stock batteries, and that kind of just made everything a lot harder, and I had to do a lot more thinking. So it actually turns out that I do have to get the battery for the controller, and I've noticed that this is going to be another $1,000, and that's why I kind of explained that I have to spend a lot more money now. And honestly, I just realized that this is going to be an expensive build, but I really hope it's going to turn out great, because since I have to get the battery that matches with this controller, which is going to be another $1,000, it's going to be a couple of weeks before I even get this thing running, and I just realized that this is going to be a lot longer of a project than I thought it was going to be. So now that I have to get a whole new battery for this thing, I'm going to pray that once that battery comes in, everything's going to plug in just fine and everything's going to work. But I just had to give you guys context on that specific segment because I just realized I did not explain the battery situation while I was editing. So I had to explain to you guys that now I have to get a new battery, and specifically the one that directly matches with the controller and everything that's required for the battery, but it's going to be one expensive build. And now I have to figure out where I'm going to put this new battery because I had to take off the old battery and the old battery mounts, and now I have to figure out where I'm going to put this new battery. But yes, that is the context. So far, I've got the motor in, and we've got the brake rotor and the brake pads finally aligned. The only problem is it's kind of just tapping a little bit with the motor wheel, which is not really a problem. The wheel still kind of spins freely. I've added my own Instagram plug. Check it out. We got my favorite moto vlogger of all time and his Mini Moto Squad logo on there. Now, obviously, if you guys haven't noticed yet, I did put the gold diamond decal on there, and then I just slapped the Mini Moto Squad logo on there. So I think in terms of the looks and all the stickers, I think this looks pretty fine. So with the wires, the cord from the motor is connected all the way to the controller, and the controller is obviously hiding under here because it doesn't fit on top where the old controller goes. And I got pretty much all my wires figured out here. Got the alarm, and everything's pretty much going to be connected under here. And then what I plan on doing is having a little shield within this pretty much area of the bike on both sides where I can protect it from water. I still need to figure that out, but before I even think about putting a shield of some sort there, I need to get the battery and figure out where I'm going to put it, and then from there I will pretty much finish covering this mess of cords up. But obviously this is the one thing that's probably going to connect to the battery. So far it's looking great. The one thing I did notice is that I didn't switch out the brakes because I do not know how to do that, and I figured since the brakes are already fully functional and they're both going to be fully functional anyways, I'm just going to leave the brake levers be, even though there's going to be like loose cables, which I'm probably going to end up tying at some point. But if I need to swap out the brakes, then we'll try to figure that out from there. But all I know is both brakes are working. Another thing is we got rid of the taillight because there is no plug-in that goes with the controller cords. So I had to end up taking the taillight. We'll have to install either just a random taillight, or hopefully there is one that can actually connect to the controller. But yeah. But so far, it's looking fine. The area is pretty much cleaned up, and there's the old motor. Like I said, we need to wait for the battery, which is going to be a couple weeks. So you guys are probably not going to hear about this bike for the next couple weeks, but once we get that figured out, this is going to be about ready, and I can't wait to test it out and tune this thing up, make sure everything is working perfectly fine, and make sure nothing is getting glitched out or anything. Like I said, I'm trying to make this fully functional, and like I said, I'm dropping $2,000 on this bike, and this is going to be basically your knockoff Sur-Ron, but it's not going to be as fast as Sur-Ron because it's only going to have 5,000 watts of power, which for a Sur-Ron would be like 10,000, but I mean, it's not too bad. It might perform like maybe like a Honda Grom or something like that. But that is the current situation with the bike. And yeah, everything is lining up just fine. I fixed all the little problems. The wheels, like I said, the wheel fits. Everything fits just fine. Obviously, there's had to be a little bit of adjustments because something just doesn't line up and it pisses me off. But you know, we made it work. We got the tools and the right stuff just to make everything fit. Now we just have to wait for that battery. Once that battery comes in, we can finally turn this thing on and sort all the stuff out and then finish this build pretty much. All right, with that being said, like I said, it's going to be a couple weeks before this build is finally going to be done. And so far everything is right where I need it to be. I just need to wait for the battery, connect everything, turn it on, tune it, make sure it's fully functional, do a test ride on it, which I'm going to have a video of that separately, and you guys are going to get a raw reaction of me riding it for the first time with a functional motor. That's if that actually happens. I'm crossing my fingers that this is going to work because I've spent so much time, so much money, and I really hope it's going to be worth it in the end. If not, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this thing other than trying to figure out another motor for this thing. But I mean, I still have the old parts from the factory, all the OEM parts. I don't know. But that is the current situation on the bike, and I know this video is not going to be very exciting because I'm literally just putting something together on this thing, but this whole video is basically me getting the motor on there and fixing things up a little bit and organizing it to where it's going to be perfectly set up when the battery gets here, and all I have to do is figure out where I'm going to put the battery, how I'm going to connect it, and how I'm going to cover up the wiring, because cable management is kind of important and I really hope nothing gets damaged in the long run. So if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down below on maybe future bike life stuff that I could do on this thing. Other than that, I could try to make some more content on the computer. I haven't done that in a hot minute. I'll try to see if there's anything going on with any of my friends or anything like that, or if I have an idea in mind. But at the moment, for bike life, we're going to be waiting on this thing unless, you know, Becky will let me ride her bike again and we could do some more bike life content and getting out and going on adventures. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video. Yeet.